Welcome to my 1 minute to wow video tutorial. This is Mary Fish with Stampin' Pretty and StampinPretty.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I love sharing the art of paper crafting and simple and pretty cards. On today's card, I have used some really classic designs for the holidays. I love this intricate die cutting, the simple sentiment, a little pop of red in this real red enamel shapes heart that goes with this yummy 1/8 inch very satiny ribbon, and the stamp set, which is from Hearts Come Home. As a matter of fact, the stamp set, Hearts Come Home, coordinates with the Hometown Greetings dies. You save 10% when you purchase them together as a bundle. And then this is the die that I used. And I just wanted to tell you one quick tip about how I created this. For starters, I always use my bristle brush. It's made for these specific and very I should say it's made specifically for these very detailed dies, and that's why they have all those little holes in there, so that when I actually crop this with the cardstock, I will then run this over and the little dies wedge into those tiny little dots, and it really helps remove the little bits as well as remove the die. And then after I did that, I used my paper snips to snip away this house and that house. Pretty simple. So I think this is a really cool card, but I think it comes to life when we add a nice solid border. I think it really looks great, and I'm going to show you how to first of all create this skinny little frame. We'll adhere it, and then we'll crop out the word home, which is really my goal. And then one more tip for when you are stamping, and I pre-stamped this, and I would recommend you do the same, using the Hearts Come Home stamp set. This is the actual die, and as I explained in a recent video, it's much easier to line these up on a clear block, and they have a nice straight edge. And in looking at this, I will line up the card and use the grid as not only a visual, but also a pretty precise area to keep things in place. And then I used this. I kind of laid it where I thought it would go, all right? And then I actually lined this up and just stamped, okay? Making sure I was lining up the bottom edge and the top edge with the top and the bottom kind of side to side with the grid. It's easier than you think, especially if you put it on the diagonal where you don't have the prism effect of the edges kind of throwing you off. So let me show you how to do the die cutting. I used our Layering Squares Framelits dies. I use them for so much. There's 19 in the set, including these scalloped versions and then a whole variety of sizes. And then I used the largest and the next largest, okay? And you'll notice they're almost the exact same. They almost nest inside of one each other, but you'll see in a minute that they truly do. Now I'm going to start with the magnetic platform because that's going to help me keep things in place. I'm using an acrylic plate, a piece of basic black cardstock, and then the largest die first. Just going to center that. The magnetic platform doesn't play quite as important a role for this first pass through, but it will when we use the smaller die and create the frame. So I'm just going to do this quick pass through with my Big Shot. I don't know what I would do without my Big Shot. I use it almost every day, and the magnetic platform, almost the same thing. So what you will find is that this die cut is exactly the same size as the outside of this die. So we're going to line it up so that it is just perfectly lined up with the cardstock below. And this is, like I said, this is when you want to make sure you have a magnetic platform where you can use tape to keep it in place. I need the magnetic platform so much that I go this direction. Then you want to have fairly flat acrylic plates. The minute they start bending so much that you can't really keep things in place, it's time to replace them. And so here's my Big Shot. Now, the die and the magnetic platform do a lot to keep things in place, but I still push down because once it hits the pressure of the Big Shot, you want to make sure you're guiding it through and it doesn't move, okay? Because that pressure throws things off just a little bit. And so now we have what kind of one fits inside the other. You can still use that, great use. And then sometimes there's a little extra residual here. I just use my fingernail. You can use a paper piercing tool to just kind of give it a good cleanup. And I think it matters more than usual in doing this little border because I want to make sure that it's really clean and precise. And I'm not going to do that all right now. I actually have another one right here for you. So I'll show you how we did this. So here's the card. And you can use whatever adhesive that you like, but I'm just going to use a little snail, just a tiny bit, on the top, on the corners, on the sides. Nothing's going to slip out the sides. And if it does, I just use my adhesive eraser. And I'm not going to do the bottom portion, okay? I'll do that in just a second. And so now I'm going to line this up so that I have the same distance left and right, and make sure that that word home is right in the middle of this line. Make sure, looking all the way around. Oops. There we go. So now I've got good adhesion on these edges, and I'm going to just take my snips, and I'm going to start out very conservative and go very close to the word and just kind of dissect a little bit. Okay? I actually think I can take just a hair more off, so I'm going to. And I'm going to try to make it even. And then you can use a little bit of glue. I actually just cheat, and I just use just a wee bit of snail to kind of get those ends to stay down. And the key on snail, I might have to do that a little better later. The key in using snail is making sure you burnish, making sure you really get it down and even, and then it doesn't slide up. What I love about snail is that it's fairly forgiving. So now you can see how we started with a really pretty little card. Got a few little dusties on there. Really pretty card, but just how much this defines it. And if you look at your sentiments, you're going to have all kinds where you can snip out and really emphasize that word home or that word Christmas. I think it's just really beautiful and simple and classic. If you have any questions on this card or about the technique that I just shared with you, please leave me a comment on YouTube or visit my blog, stampinpretty.com. I will answer your questions promptly, and I cherish your comments, so please feel free to leave them. You can shop for all these Stampin' Up! Products on my blog, stampinpretty.com. Thank you for taking the time to learn a little something new about paper crafting today. Thank you, and bye-bye.